So with talks between Pyongyang and Washington pretty much stalled and going nowhere, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's first summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, expected to take place in less than 6 hours from now, will give the two longtime allies an opportunity to show a united front at a critical moment in negotiations over North Korea's nuclear disarmament. But the Kremlin says don't expect any joint signings or joint statements or really anything but heavy choreography, really. For the record, this is the first time the leaders from North Korea and Russia have met since 2011. Joining me live in the studio to put things into perspective is Dr. Scott Snyder, Senior Fellow and Director of U.S. Korea Policy at Council on Foreign Relations. Scott, it's great to have you here in our Seoul studio.
Glad to be here.
Now, on the surface, this looks pretty basic. If he can't get what he wants from Donald Trump, he's going to try his luck with Vladimir Putin. Kim Jong-un, that is. The only problem with the theory is, can Russia give him what the U.S. cannot? I mean, I guess they're apples and oranges, but there are mutual benefits there, right?
Well, I think so. I mean, essentially what Kim Jong-un wants to do is to restore his stature as an effective leader in North Korea following a failure in Hanoi, and to show that he has alternatives to talking to the United States. And for President Putin, you know, this gets him kind of back in the game on the Korean Peninsula after a long absence, and it gives him some credibility and something to bring to other meetings with leaders like Xi Jinping later.
Well, perhaps that is why, because Kim said that he hoped he and the Russian president could talk about, discuss ways to bring peace on the Korean Peninsula. And while the Kremlin did say that, did concur, the Kremlin said that the SixParty Talks, which of course has been stalled for pretty much a very, very long time, is actually the only way, the multilateral negotiations are the only efficient way of addressing the denuclearization. So we're going to first take a listen to the Kremlin spokesperson.
There are no other efficient international mechanisms at the moment. That's why it's hardly possible to abstract away from this mechanism. But on the other hand, you know that settlement efforts are being made by other countries as well. All efforts deserve support if they truly pursue the goal of denuclearizing society.
So they said that the six-party talks are the only way that will actually resolve this issue of denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula and bring peace in this region. Now, are we seeing Russia trying to flex its diplomatic prowess, if you will, in this region and the international society?
Well, the idea of getting back to the six-party talks gets the Russians back into the game. But I think that it is still the case that the U.S. is focused bilaterally with Kim Jong-un. And we are going to be waiting, the U.S. is going to be waiting to see whether Kim Jong-un is ready to re-engage bilaterally with the U.S. To discuss some of the outstanding issues post-Hanoi.
What's the stance of the United States watching this rather audacious, if you will, I mean, relative to his father, his predecessor, Kim Jong-il, this audacious move by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un meeting all these leaders. What's the U.S. stance watching this?
Well, I think the United States government has been very active in trying to engage with Moscow, essentially in order to try to contain risks of Russia being a spoiler, and also to try to contain any negative downside from a Kim Jong-un Putin summit.
What do you expect out of this Kim-Putin summit? Obviously, we know that Kim is going there with his Foreign Affairs team, Choi Sun-hee and Ri Yong-ho, who will be talking about denuclearization. But he's also going there with officials in charge of budgetary affairs and also weapons affairs. And we also know that there are North Korean laborers there in Russia. We also know that there will be economic cooperation or economic affairs talked between the two leaders. What do you expect?
Well, aside from being back in the game, the Russian approach to North Korea is very mercantilistic. And you just named many of the areas where there might be a convergence of interest between Kim Jong-un and Putin related to sanctions weakening in order to be able to pursue mercantilistic interests and also sustaining activities like labors abroad that generate cash flows for the North Korean regime.
Now, the immediate to midterm forecast, what is your forecast on things? I mean, there are so many parties involved here. Right after this summit, Putin goes to meet Xi Jinping of China. There's word that Xi Jinping will be visiting North Korea very soon. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is waiting for a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. President Donald Trump has said he has a door open for talks with North Korea. What's your outlook on things, on this very complicated global calculus?
Well, I think the critical signals were really sent by Kim Jong-un's Supreme People's Assembly speech from about 10 days ago, in which he tries to restore the perception that North Korea is engaging from a position of strength. He did a little bit of blame shifting, putting all of the fault for failure of Hanoi on the U.S., and we've seen North Korean officials call out specific U.S. negotiators, and then basically try to reset. And so the really interesting question is whether either via South Korea or directly with the U.S., we can see a re-engagement, hopefully at a working level, where both sides can reassess and determine whether there is another way forward. And then, of course, the other thing that Kim did is to try to impose a deadline on the U.S. To make it look like like the U.S. had to come to him rather than him going to the U.S.
Well, will this be a repeat of history, or will this open up a new chapter? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much, as always, Scott Snyder, and we hope to talk to you again.
Thank you.